I should have started that earlier.
Oh yeah, shit, Kanpai. Look, it's too hot. It's too hot.
It's too hot.
Welcome, weebs,
Sweating.
to this moist week of Kanpai Cast. And he said 10 o'clock. This is how hot it is. It's stupid hot. I don't like this. This is uncomfortable. It is now 27 degrees in my apartment, so it is going down.
And
do you have a fan?
Humidity still.
What?
Do you have a fan?
What? Yeah, it's right there next to me.
Okay.
The problem is
and
that
also out there in YouTube land, that's all our fans.
Anyway, so let's get on with the show. Right. So this week we're going to be talking about character psychology, and I'm not going to lie, I am so winging this, mostly because I was planning on prepping for this today. It's too hot. Couldn't do it. Nope. So I got my list. I'm going to wing it. Right. Anyway, so housekeeping for this week. A little bit of a difference in how we are now doing things. So TLDR, IMDb, the big famous platform who used to screw us over and say you can only interact with their API 100 times a day. Now they've just gone, oh, you want to use our API, right? You have to pay $152,000 a year to use their API, and I'm like, fuck that noise. So we are now utilizing AnyDB to source a lot of our information. So hopefully language and platform information should still be viable, and will now actually include more details like different languages, but we'll see what happens with that. I really
there may be a few bugs as we go forward. We'll see.
Yeah, I had to recatalog the entirety of the shows in the system with over 500 shows. That took a long time.
Yeah.
So I think I only finished that yesterday.
500. We call ourselves professionals, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I did the whole thing. I did all.
You did do all of it. I kept meaning to, but I always had other things to do.
But only 500. That's rookie numbers. We need to get our stats up.
Then you should do it. Regardless of talking about getting our stats up, we could do with more subscribers, more viewers, more likes, more comments, more everything. So I know it's early time now, but don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you haven't to already, and we do read all the comments. So we also have memes.
I personally feed on the comments, so I mean,
he does.
When
there's no comments,
when there's no comments, I'm starving. I'm just I'm an empty inside.
Tell you what. Take a brief moment. We're going to talk about the psychology of anime and things like different characters. Tell us a character that you think their psychology in a show is particularly interesting.
Yeah,
I've just thought of an extra one, and I wish I had actually thought to put it on the list, but yeah. Tomato. Right, so so that's it for housekeeping. I can't think of anything else. There was the memes thing. We got memes. They're on Twitter and Discord. See how long that lasts.
How much longer,
Reddit API.
Yeah.
Join the Kanpai Cast Discord in the description below for live memes, chat conversations about anime waifus, and
come tell us your favorite anime.
Of the ongoing things. Yeah, come tell us your favorite anime, even if that.
Can we name this section? Can we subtitle this housekeeping/shilling?
Yeah.
So
I can try that.
Anyway, right.
So for your interactions.
Also, just a warning to everyone who watches. If you watched Kanpai News earlier this week, you will know that Xeno has his window open because it's hot. It's hot.
Oh god, it's so fucking hot.
So you might hear some background noises in this episode. We apologize. It's just we can't let him melt. All right, it is he is he is an actual valid concern, and he needs to be careful. So they both need to be careful. So yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Right, it's just to say it's 27 degrees C. God knows what that is in not.
It's about 80. Right. It's about 80, 85, something like that.
Right. Anyway,
and
so let's
humid.
Yeah.
Regardless,
who wants to begin?
I will, mostly because Nasuth and I technically share one, not the same character, but definitely the same show. And that is Berserk, and I wanted to talk about the psychology behind Griffith. I was... So, for those who don't know, I've recently finished watching is it 1988?
97.
97, okay, fine.
Yeah.
The 97 release of Berserk. I'm not going to lie, the first, three quarters of the series is fairly what?
It's not changing the...
Oh, well, I didn't actually press the button.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'll fucking do it. There you go. Right, it's done now.
All right.
Right, so the whole point is that the first three quarters of the series is very, it's the Golden Age arc where everything's fine. You know, it's effectively Game of Thrones, you know, that you got these two warring kingdoms, so on and so forth, the 100-Year War, blah, 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 blah. But then you actually have...
Yeah,
then you
sunshine,
actually have...
and rainbows.
Then you actually have the events that happen later, and realistically, Griffith's psychology across the whole series, especially the last quarter, that shocks me. So we're going to be talking about a lot of spoilers, right? If you haven't seen Berserk and you're interested to see it, probably skip this section, go straight to the next section, go in the description to find those timestamps. But I want to talk about the whole element of Griffith, so this is going to be spoiler heavy. Right. The big thing about Griffith is that he seems to be I suppose, the perfect son. He can do no wrong. He does things to whatever further his goals, right? He is incredible at, strategy as well as swordsmanship. He is more than capable at doing a lot of this stuff, and just all round a swell guy. Everyone looks up to him. Anyone that he brings under his wing looks up to him, and ultimately it takes one overheard comment, one eavesdropped comment to basically unravel the whole thing. So the big thing with Griffith is the turning point in his life comes down to his relationship with Guts, who Nasuth will talk about after this. The big thing with Griffith, though, is that he thinks the concept of failing just never enters his mind. And when he does fail, he does something that completely, destroys everything that he's built up, right? He's risked it for a biscuit, and everything is just gone. It's just destroyed. His comrades are, thrown to the wind. He is left behind, and he's captured.
I think it's important to note why Guts's rejection
so this is the big
him so
overheard
hard.
thing. This is the big overheard.
Yeah, okay, yeah, go ahead, yes.
Right. The big overheard thing is Guts basically says, he overhears Griffith say, I can only be friends with someone that has a dream of their own, right? That someone's just not following the wake of my own shadow, right? Someone that is on par with me. And Guts has been sat there thinking for a long time, do I actually, do I stick it through? Do I continue to be in Griffith's shadow, or do I try to be friends with him? Do I go off, have my own adventure, come back, and yada, 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 actually become friends with Griffith? Then when Guts is going to leave, Griffith challenges him to a sword fight. If you beat me, you can do whatever you want. But it never enters Griffith's mind that he could lose.
It's deeper than that, though. It's deeper than that, though, because in the last few episodes, we do sort of see, although it's distorted, we do see a bit of Griffith's childhood and why he is the way he is. What drives him so hard.
But we don't see that yet.
True, not at the point where Guts challenges him and wins.
Yeah. So
okay,
the whole point
fair.
is,
right.
Then Griffith he's tortured for a year, right? Guts has left. The Hawks are, basically disbanded, and Griffith's tortured for a year. And then when Guts eventually finds out, they go to rescue him. Griffith can't Griffith can't handle it. He can't handle the fact that he is a completely broken individual at this point, right? His tendons are cut. He can't fend for himself.
He can't even eat for himself.
Yeah.
He's been tortured for a year, and the king wants him tortured for a further, I think it was like 3 years or something. So, on
the edge of death the whole time.
Yeah. And then basically a prophecy comes true, and Griffith is given the opportunity to become a demon. And
no, become an angel. He's given the opportunity to become an angel.
Regardless of that, it's powerful.
Yes.
He's offered power again.
Yeah.
The ability to be independent and strong, and whether it's strings attached or not.
But in order to do this, he has to sacrifice everyone. And, I don't know if you want to call it a deep internal monologue or thought-provoking experience. He basically thinks to himself, well, I've been basically using everyone as stepping stones as it stands. What's the fucking big deal of just using the last few people out here that are my friends? And
also, he's come to blame Guts specifically for everything.
Yes.
Like in the depths of his torture, what part of what sustained him was clinging to the idea that this is Guts' fault, and Guts is now the object of his revenge.
Which also makes him very conflicted when Guts is also the one that rescued him.
Yeah.
Guts resurrected him. But
so
here's the thing that got me. It's specifically he seems to come to the decision because Casca pitied him.
Yeah.
And Griffith has never been pitied in his life.
Not since he was a child.
He resents that so much. It's resentment of being put in that situation where someone can pity him, where someone has to rescue him, where the man that betrayed him can come back and rescue him from the fate that man cast him into.
Yeah.
It's an outrage.
Yeah. And so he goes full angel, and wow, the end of the series is just so ultimately fucked up, right?
Visceral. I'm not surprised. Is the word, I think.
I'm not surprised people turn around and say, like, oh, when you get to, like, episode, I think it was, like, 17 or 18, just stop there. just do yourself a favor and stop there.
For people that haven't watched this show, but have watched newer shows like Goblin Slayer was controversial because of its first episode.
Oh
this
God.
Is worse.
This is so much worse.
Oh, God, worse. So much worse.
It has been hammered home as worse over decades.
The final end scene is just like... I had to turn to Naz. Is he doing what I think he's doing?
Yep, he sure is.
Now, he basically casts aside all his humanity, right, for more power. Or to be powerful again. I don't know. But anyway, Nasuth.
It's pretty much impossible to talk. I love how in the background we've got the original Berserk and the Golden Age arc, and the difference in the art quality is kind of astounding.
Massive.
Anyway, so it's kind of hard to talk about Griffith without talking about Guts, I think, because he has a very complementary psychology, whereas Griffith had like one childhood experience of being sort of pitied and left behind, and that forever made him want to be the one in the lead. Guts had everyone that ever took him in, even whether they were good people or not, anyone that ever took him in died, right? And he kept witnessing that kept happening to him. And so when he finally was tamed by Griffith, he clung to that. He was looking for that kind of friendship, that kind of equal.
I mean, on top of the deaths, there's also the fact that anybody that claimed they had authority over him,
yes, usually mistreated
him in different ways.
Yeah,
either verbally, mentally, or physically abused him. And that's
and Griffith was the first time that he'd ever been bested and commanded, but not abused. And yes, so that filled in such a gap for him. And then, you know, and that was enough for him. He was happy with that. And then to hear that line from Griffith that you talked about, the line that changed everything. And to think that, oh, Griffith doesn't actually see me as a friend. He's just using me. But I still love Griffith. I could be his friend if I became my own man. You know, I think the way that he took that and used it to better himself, whereas Griffith, unfortunately, took the same event and used it to spiral downwards. It's such a good like contrast in their psychologies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
This is the ideal example of it's not the depth of the mud, it's the height of your boots kind of argument.
Yeah.
Guts being able to, having been in that mud for so long, has finally given himself some pretty tall boots to get around it.
Yeah.
But Griffith was dunked in the mud in once, and has tried, rather than trying to get bigger boots, has instead tried to never step in mud again. So of course, when he does, and when it affects him, he's got muddy feet again. He's got exactly the same situation again that he was in the first time, and that's a powerful difference.
Whereas Griffith's been riding on top of the mud for so long that when it finally pulls him in, he goes under. I mean, he just... Oof.
Exactly.
And that plays out all the way through to the end when Griffith is still trying to, save Guts... Guts is still trying to save Griffith all the way to the end, even right up until, right up until Casca.
The moment when Griffith's kind of betrayal gets just too far.
Yeah. But even then, I think deep down, the reason that Guts wants to kill Griffith now is because he's no longer Griffith, right? It's the person he loves is gone, and he has to get rid of this pretender, this shadow, this wraith of him, of what he was. So I think he still kind of wants to kill him out of a place of love, even though he's full of anger too.
Yeah.
Guts seems like a very simple character, but he's more complex than you think of at first blush.
That's Xeno talk.
Yeah.
I think the big thing with Guts though is that he is someone that is built from his experiences, not just the now experiences, but his entire life. His entire life shapes him. At no point, so not only does Guts want to hunt down and kill Griffith, just because of the events of
the
eclipse. Right, not just because of being offered up as a sacrifice, not just because all his friends have been offered up as sacrifices, but the fact that there was this, originality of him wanting to be friends with Griffith. The fact that there was this brotherly bond sort of thing. The whole, they were a family, and then the betrayal is just so goddamn deep. I think. That's the big thing about Guts, is that he isn't someone that is just so paper thin as to basically act on now. He will act on everything.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you said paper thin, because this is where I see the contrast between the two characters. Guts is not a thin character. He's built everything on his experiences. But Griffith is essentially a thin character, because he's basing all of his experiences on two events. One in his youth and one in the modern day. that put him into the same situation twice. And he's let it destroy him. It's let it change him to the point where he just said, yeah, fuck it, let's sacrifice everyone because that's what I've been doing all along.
I don't fully agree, but I kind of see what you mean.
I don't agree.
He's a complex character, but he's a thin person. If you see the comparison.
No, I think maybe easily swayed, right? I think
easily broken.
Okay, would you accept
Guts,
the metaphor more if I said? Would you accept the metaphor more if I said thick-skinned versus thin-skinned?
Yeah.
Yes. Totally would.
Guts is like a really calloused hand that's armored and tough, and Griffith is like a very soft, very moisturized, very gentle hand that's easy to damage.
I think the problem I have with saying
Guts has been cut so many times that he's tough. Griffith's only been cut twice, but because he's only been cut twice, the cuts go deeper.
I think the problem I have with calling him like paper thin is that this resembles a complaint about Western comics where the motivation of characters are wafer thin, right? Like how often does Spider-Man he's an easy one to pick on. How often does Spider-Man lose someone only to just basically, a few weeks later bounce back to be his usual chipper self, when in terms of the comic, that was 5 minutes ago, right? How have you lost so many people? How have you been battered and bruised so badly, but this has not changed your outlook on life?
That's why I loved the Spider-Verse movie for that. Because they point out that in every single one, he always gets back up. And that's the point of him wearing the mask, is anyone...
Welcome to the Nerd Crew podcast.
They get back up and do that. So, but that's the thing. So I get what you're saying. The comparison to thin motivations. Yeah, no, I get that. Nobody can say on watching and reading the Berserk manga and anime that either of these is an unmotivated or thinly motivated character.
Yes, they're not simple characters.
That's why this show has endured for so long. Is because you can see the stages. They're all explained of where each character went. And even though you can't relate to some of them, you can see how that character got to that choice. And that's really quite powerful. Considering
we have spent nearly 20 minutes on just two characters, should we move on?
10 minutes per character. So I'm going to flip this because I found a character that seems to have the most paper thin of motivations in Ifurita from El Hazard. Okay. Influential character. One second, I've got a mouthful.
You and your full mouth.
Oh, El Hazard. I need to rewatch this.
So this is specifically from the OVA, The Magnificent World. The series, The Wanderers, is basically another timeline entirely and doesn't follow the same plot. So even though there's some repeat characters, it's very different. So the basic premise of Ifurita is that thousands of years ago in the world of El Hazard, there was a mighty war. Giant Magitech machines were created to wage war, and Ifurita is one of the most powerful because she's the trigger for a world-ending device called the Eye of God. She is first encountered in the series right at the first episode. She's the catalyst for the story starting. Makoto, our main character, goes down into the ancient ruins that have recently been uncovered in the school's basement and accidentally opens a pod. Seems like a sleep pod or a cold stasis pod, and a beautiful girl steps out. She recognizes him. She's warm to him, even, loving, and then sends him and all the people nearby off to El Hazard. Okay? We don't see this character again until much later on, when the antagonist, Jinai, is looking for a weapon that can hopefully defeat his rival, his enemy, Makoto. and finds the island of the island of the demon god, and he finds the biomachine Ifurita and activates her with the power staff. It literally winds her up like a clockwork toy, and because he's the control of the staff, she must obey him. So for the rest of the series, it's all about Makoto trying to make a connection with Ifurita because he knows her, and his special power is so I can see that in the background.
Yep, that's just for me.
He can talk to machines as his power for going to another world. And he's able to synchronize with Ifurita, and she realizes that he knows her from somewhere else, that he knows her with a different personality. And so is able to, resist the commands of Jinai and eventually save the world. And in saving the world, she is thrown out of time. And the only thing she takes with her out of time is she takes a copy of all of Makoto's memories. He gives her everything that he knows and can remember to keep her company through the time slip that she's about to go through. She apparently gets lost in time for 10,000 years and eventually comes to rest under the school. And thus the time loop closes, And we come to the end of the series, which, yes, spoilers, which we're not going to bother with because it's such an old show and everybody should know it by now.
Yeah.
Anyway, she has just sent Makoto into El Hazard and starts wandering the school, going over the places that she knows from his memories, and appears to be running out of power without her power staff. And eventually makes it outside, and in the dawn light, an older Makoto, wearing robes and carrying her power staff, appears from nowhere, obviously having mastered the tech at long last to come and find her. And it's in that time, it's only been 5 minutes for her from sending him back to him coming to find her. But it's implied that he's been in El Hazard for years trying to get back to her. So it's a great little romance. But at the same time, I can't help but feel that this is in some way very, very wrong. Because it basically seems like Makoto almost programs her with this information that flips her switch and turns her into something else, leaves her for thousands of years with just the memories of one person to sustain her. You gotta wonder how that actually affects a person.
Yeah.
Especially on their idea of relationships. You have to question whether if that didn't happen, and if Ifurita was left to actually explore the world and come to her own conclusions, meet people and discover things for herself, would this romance have happened? Now, I hate to use the term because it's actually a debunked concept, is Stockholm Syndrome.
Mm.
But at the same time, while that may not be a real thing, the actual principles that they purport in that ideal, or in that syndrome, could apply here. She's literally been locked away for 1,000 years with just this guy's memories, and this guy's memories only, to form opinions with as a reference point. So it would either cause her to go completely stark raving mad, or if he didn't, actually just become what he found at the start of the series. So what do you think? Is this something that should be just seen as romantic, or should it be seen as almost indoctrination into an ideal?
Man, I wish I'd rewatched this because then I could have a better discussion with you on if I agree or not.
I mean, a large part of it feels like there's maybe more psychological abuse than anything else, because you're
yeah, that's kind of what he's hinting at. Yeah,
you have to sort of form a healthy mindset. Like, I mean,
how does she have any choice in the matter if this is all she's had for X number of years? Yeah, 10,000 years. Yeah.
I mean, either
from the other side of things, the getting to know you phase is all done, isn't it?
Yeah.
One possibility. Sorry, bad with me.
You're both terrible.
You and your full
I'm
mouth.
hungry. You know.
So am I.
One possibility is that you could mentally form not only this like possibility of a loving relationship side of thing, but also a hateful. You know, you just like absolutely, you're so obsessed with someone that like you just purely hate them. So I think
instead of seeing the good parts of them, all you see are the bad things, and because that's all you have, that you start obsessing over it.
Well, you can't
especially
help
when somebody
but
can see your motivations. Because these are memories. These are the personality traits of a teenage boy with all the ups and downs of that. And I'm just wondering how many times Ifurita has seen him masturbate. So I just and because some of his motivations are not exactly pure anyway. So like his relationship with Jinai before they became, vacillated between him being the victim and also him turning the tables and mocking him.
Yeah.
So the motivation in your mind that takes is very different.
It also depends entirely on the smarts of the individual. Because like if you're stuck with the memories of someone, you have to appreciate that wasn't their intent. Right? You know, like if all of a sudden Nasuth were to just acquire my entire life's experiences, like
through no fault of your own or my own.
Yeah, exactly, right? You know, you could either obsess over the bits that grate you or whatever, or you can just appreciate the fact that, well, you had no intention of making me go through this. You know,
that's the thing, isn't it? Because they make it clear in this one that it was intentional. Makoto gave her his memories because at the end of the show, as the thing to keep her company, basically.
Right, but at the same time, like,
but it wasn't his fault that she was going to be trapped for 10,000 years.
Not just that, but like he didn't just go like, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll stave off, playing with my sausage, so to speak. So that this girl that I have yet to even meet can have my memories for the next 10,000 years. Right?
No. That wasn't a thing at the time. There's no premeditation.
Yeah,
that's the point, though. That is my point. Like, at no point in time was there any premeditation throughout his entire life experiences to decide, like, oh, I'm not going to do this just in case. Like, you know.
Well, I don't know about you. I certainly hold off on my self-interaction just in case some mystical anime waifu is watching me from the future. You know, just in case.
It's always best to be be careful of these things.
Who knows? Said anime waifu may be into that sort of shit. But let's digress. Can we move on to the next character?
Yeah, let's go on to the next one.
Yeah. Right, I'm gonna go for an easier pick this time. I'm actually gonna go with Bocchi. Right. So, Bocchi from Bocchi the Rock is, Reddit has gone to high heaven and back saying like, oh yeah, she's a brilliant example of someone that suffers from social anxiety, right? And I get that. A lot of the time there's an argument between Komi and Bocchi, but at the same time, my opinion is well, they're just different.
They're just, they just have different varieties. Yeah.
Komi's like, name literally means it's a communication disorder.
Yeah, but it's
not a anxiety thing. It's communication.
But the whole point is just like this is just a form of entertainment, right? Like just appreciate it for what it is, and like, can we have a fucking dub for Bocchi, please?
No,
anyway, besides the point. But one of the things that I love about Bocchi's in depth is she does have the deep-seated internal psychological torment, right? She thinks herself as inferior. She has what's the imposter syndrome, right? She has the imposter syndrome left, right, and center. She wants to, we've talked about in private. We've spoken about how I cannot stand the character of Sid from Eminence in Shadow because it, conceptually doesn't make sense. At least with Bocchi, she doesn't want the limelight on her. Anything she does, she wants to be good at playing the guitar, to make friends and form relationships and things. But the most she can bring herself to do for the majority of her life experiences is just to play the guitar in front of a camera and not do a face reveal, right? She is hiding herself constantly. Like, she wants some form of satisfaction, but things like YouTube comments, they're mean. YouTube comments are mean. They're not gonna play nice. And the second she gets any form of criticism, whether or not it's constructive or otherwise, she just suddenly massively self-destructs, right? Which is not fair on her, right? I know artist friends. Go on.
Can't relate to that at all.
That's literally the thing, isn't it? All artists. I do it myself. I'm on multiple discords for other artists, and the universal trend is they are their own biggest critic.
Yeah, but I mean that's the case of anything for anyone. Like, talking about video editing stuff, like doing the machinima side of things. Like I've spoken about this time and time again. Like, I released them at a satisfactory level. They were never perfect. Right, the number of times I'm like, don't like this, don't like this, don't like this, don't like this, but I still release it because otherwise it would never fucking go out.
Yeah.
So and I love how Bocchi's done in this. She, the second there is an aspiring guitar player who wants to become as good as her, she instantly shuts down and thinks, oh, this person's better than me because she doesn't have the social anxiety.
What I love about Bocchi is that while it is for entertainment, they have rather accurately represented the feelings that go through somebody with social anxiety visually. So we made a meme about it before, about how to speak Bocchi. The simple fact is that when confronted, there are moments of panic. Now, something that a lot of people have trouble believing with me is that I actually have a bit of social anxiety. I'm very introverted. As much as I like to talk and share my views online, I can adopt a persona, and I can join you guys as a host, and that's becoming something I can be, and helps me actually talk about things. But when confronted in public by somebody, certainly if there's more than 3 people, the shocks of anxiety that go through you are actually really well represented by the dissolving into panic scribbles that Bocchi does, or even turning into a race car and crashing and burning, because your brain just goes and does something that you don't even know about for a second or two. And that's what panic is. That's what panic does. Anxiety can do that to you. And yes, it's for entertainment, as you've said.
I completely agree with you, because we talk very freely about our thoughts, opinions, feelings when it comes to anime, when it comes to video games, so on and so forth. We have become quite close friends, even if we have never met each other in real life.
Oh.
I struggle massively with my colleagues because the number of times they turn to my fucking androids because, I didn't know you had such a big Funko Pop collection.
Oh my god, no.
They're not fucking Funko Pops. I'm
gonna start saying that now.
Yep.
Shouldn't have fucking told you.
Core torment has been unlocked.
But no, it's just a case of you see my Weeb collection, you see my Toka statue, you see my Goblin Slayer statue. I'm gonna have to turn the other side. my Goblin Slayer statue. You see my Guyvers, right?
You certainly are into your cartoon toys.
Yeah, but the sheer hilarity. No, I'm not gonna fucking bite on that one, man. When one of my colleagues says, "Oh my god, have you got some Guyvers on those shelves?"
Yeah, now you know.
Yeah.
Now you know.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's easier to talk in this format because it is a lot like just three friends talking to each other, and the YouTube side of things comes later, you know.
Yeah. But again, like when I was in school and things, which is like, you know, similar to the situation here, you know, very rarely would people share my interest, like playing video games and things like this, watching anime. Right, there was maybe one other kid that actually watched anime in the entirety of the school, and he destroyed my VHS copies of the Guyver. But that's besides the point. I had the DVDs at that point, so it was fine.
Yeah, very similar experience where I had like one or two friends throughout school because I just didn't identify with anyone else, you know. Yeah.
Well, here's a big question for you then. Like, and again, it goes on the same vein as like the whole comparison between Komi and Bocchi, right? Do you feel a better attachment to a character if you do relate to them?
Maybe, but that doesn't stop me from identifying with characters that I don't relate as closely to.
Yes. I think it's all
I may identify more with Bocchi or Komi, but I still like watching the guys in Heavenly Delusion, right? I'm nothing like them. I guess I'm a little bit like them because they're kind of nerdy, but mostly I'm nothing like them. And I still love them. I still they're compelling, awesome characters. You know,
like a part of me feels that this is on par with like whenever I play a character in a role-playing game or where I get to choose to customize them and things like that. I rarely make them my gender or sexual orientation. Because I have the luxury of making them something I am not. And I like to do... Like, I like to play races that aren't human or humanoid in... Well, I mean, you know, a human adjacent in any way, shape or form. That's why I liked the orcs, the undead, even the Worgen to a point, elves. Again, I would always change the gender. Like, I'd rarely ever play a male character. And, like... You know, so what was, you know, but...
I would usually play a female character so I can look at arse. But, you know, that similar thing.
That's also valid. I mean, you know.
Also, if anybody out there actually is a VR chat person over in the UK, if you happen to see me online with the same name, say I am Thaylien, I won't be a person. I will be this big, and I will be a small fuzzy object.
Because are you a soot sprite?
In real life, I'm... Sometimes a soot sprite, usually a cotton fox, because I like to go on there and read bedtime stories to people just for fun. And I like to experience being small and fuzzy, where in real life I'm just huge and hairy. Which, as Xeno has just pointed out, I'm probably going to be arrested for.
Anyway, right. Should we move on to another character?
Sure. Do we want to? You said that one was simple. We still took 10 minutes on it. Let's do a really simple one. Let's do Goku. Because Goku's motivations. Goku is almost the other. Is kind of the shallow end of the psychological case study, because he's only interested in a few things. He's interested in eating, he's interested in training, he's interested in fighting the strong guy. You know, he doesn't understand, even though he has had 2 children, he doesn't understand how that happened because it's just not part of his world. You know, Shuichi makes that happen.
Right.
There is a disconnect between parody Goku and actual Goku.
Right.
He is a loving father.
Oh, sure.
Okay? He's not a very good father, but he is a loving father. Okay? So he may spend a lot of time training and a lot of time dead and a lot of time in other worlds, but
he does love his kids when he sees them. Yeah.
Yes. And his wife. So
yes, go ahead, Xeno.
Right. I actually was considering doing Goku because I had this weird epiphany when it comes to Goku, right? Goku is super absent for the entirety of Gohan and Goten's life, right? But think about it from his point of view. Goku didn't have a parental figure at any point in his life, apart from when he was a wee baby.
His grandfather,
His grandfather. Yeah. That was it. That's all he had.
Yeah, that's true.
So I can completely understand now and appreciate the whole reason why he was so hands-off with Gohan and Goten is because, well, he turned out just fine not having a father figure at all.
Yes. So, his main inspiration growing up was Master Roshi. Think about that.
But the thing is, he only ever saw...
was Grandpa Gohan and the people around him giving him advice. So
yeah, right.
But
Roshi was a teacher. He wasn't
not a father figure per se, but
exactly.
Still his main influence in
I would
growing up.
say that would be more Korin and Kami.
I would just say fucking wandering around, being lost all the time, and then just fucking running up in random adventures. Right?
Yes,
I've not seen all of the original Dragon Ball, but I did see. I know I saw up to the Red Ribbon Army when he fought like Android 9, or was it 6?
That's about 6. When I started giving up on it too. Yeah.
You know, and it's like it's not a short tell. I didn't get to like the King Piccolo saga or anything like that, but like you know, so I can so easily understand and appreciate, and I love the fact that DBZ Abridged just hammed it the fuck up. Like, he is such a irresponsible father because, well,
and yet
he doesn't have anything to base off.
In some ways, you might say that part of his motivation for getting stronger is that he wants to protect the people that he cares about, and that includes his family and his kids. You know, he wants to protect Earth from these horrible things that happen.
Yes. So there's a certain amount of necessity that he feels about being away from his family.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Throughout his life, he has encountered people that have been taken on by mentors, by training, by masters, right? So there's got to be in his psyche that if somebody wants to take somebody else under their wing, then yes, you let them do that. So, Piccolo with Gohan, Chi-Chi with Gohan and Goten. The fact that Chi-Chi wanted to take an interest and raise their son in a certain way, he was absolutely fine with that, because even though it wasn't what he did, you know, it wasn't... It was
it's mostly because he was afraid of Chi-Chi. No. It's mostly because he was afraid of Chi-Chi.
No. I think he was afraid of Chi-Chi.
Terrified of Chi-Chi. That goes all the way back to their childhood.
The reason he didn't interfere in that sense, unless it was important, you know, it's important to the security of the world that Gohan trains because he's powerful. The actual day-to-day thing, Chi-Chi was willing to step up, so Goku let her. Because why wouldn't he? You know, if somebody wants to put somebody else through training, and it's going to be beneficial to them, yes, of course he's going to agree. You know, the other... thing of like taking on other people's.
He's bad at that stuff, because we've seen how he is when he tries to do normal mundane tasks like be a farmer.
Yes,
he can't. Yes, he just can't.
he hasn't had that growing up, so he wasn't. He's got to the point where it's very difficult to control his basic strength. But that's the fun thing about him, is that the second that it became necessary for him to step in and train Gohan, he was willing to spend an entire year in the Chamber of Spirit and Time with Gohan. Raising him. Yes. And, of course, he did as much as he could for him. He would cook. They even
had good father-son moments in there. Yeah.
Yes.
They ate together. They bathed together. They, you know.
Yes. And cut his hair when it got too long.
Yep.
All of it. Goku did that because it's what was necessary to help his son through the training. So he's not unaware of these things. He's just unable to do some of them. So when Chi-Chi was going to do something that he couldn't for Gohan, of course he's going to let her. He's not even going to see that going hands off might actually be seen as a negative.
That said, because one of his a big part of his psyche is fighting. He does want to fight the strong guy. You know, to the point that he will let them power up so he can fight the strong, like fight them at their strongest just to test himself.
Yes.
It's
one of the key points.
That is meme heavy, but yeah.
Yeah.
It happens in Super a lot as well.
One of the key points that people keep coming back to about the Goku-Gohan relationship is that after when they're confronting Cell, Goku trained Gohan, and he knew that Gohan had an upper limit that was beyond his own. So when he went to go see Korin to get his power level assessed by Korin, and say, "Oh yeah, no, this is about half the power I can get to," and Korin says, "Yes, I think Cell's actually still stronger than you are right now," and he says, "Well, okay, I'm just going to go and do it my best." He gets in the ring with Cell and fights, knowing that the entire time Gohan is going to be watching and assessing Cell as Goku would himself. So that when Goku can't win, the thing he did, the bit that was a bit of an asshole thing, is that when he stepped out the ring and forfeited the rest of his fight, he gave Cell a Senzu Bean as well, so that Cell and Gohan would be fighting fresh. And that's the thing that people keep coming back to, because he didn't see it as a bad thing at the time. He thought he was going to draw out Gohan's full power.
Yeah.
But what were you going to do, Xeno? You had a finger up thinking.
I don't remember anymore.
Okay. So
I think the only thing I was going to say was that he's also extremely suicidal, because, death's not the final thing. That's going to die.
Of course not. Oh. Yes, if he dies, Dragon Balls exist. Or even if he dies permanently, the other world exists where he can train and get stronger and fight strong guys over there. And he can be happy with that because his strong son is on Earth. But he didn't realize, and that was a key thing, was that Gohan, it was actually quite accurately called out in the parodies, is that Gohan isn't like him and doesn't want to fight the same way that Goku does. And so, and it was proven to be quite happy taking on a normal life. And so it took a lot more pushing and torment from Cell to draw out the full power of Gohan at the end. And that was the bit that Goku didn't think about, because he had that assumption that, just like all his friends, Gohan thought the same way he did.
Yeah. Anyway, I said this would be another fast one. I said it would be a fast one, and yet again,
next one.
We want to draw these out. Okay, so I'm going to go and go on to play another head empty character, which is Aisha Clan.
Yeah, I knew it. Yeah,
of Outlaw Star. Now, Aisha Clan is a brilliant head empty, no thoughts character, but it's surprisingly deep when you get to her. On the surface, anybody who knows cats can understand Aisha. On the surface. Aisha was raised as a noble. That's the whole point about her. She's a privileged princess of a family, destined for greatness. She graduated with honors from the Katal University, military university, to become an officer. And she became an officer and got her own ship, at an astonishingly young age, comparatively. Okay, especially developmentally. Because Katal aren't actually much above children in their way of thinking. In general, they're very, very focused on the on honor and conquest in the most simple means. By strength, by
it's like if a Klingon merged with a Pac-Led. You'd have the Katal Empire.
Yeah. So we meet her when she's taking her ship into Blue Heaven, and the crew of the Outlaw Star at the time are trying to escape Blue Heaven, being followed by pirates. And Jean decides to play chicken with the Otohone, which is a massive battleship, and tell it to move out of their exit lane. And Aisha, against basic Katal policy, didn't want to blow him out of the sky and move the ship so that he'd get by. and in showing that little bit of weakness, she's then abandoned by her people completely. She's made the resident officer of Blue Heaven, given no funds, and just left there by the ship that happily moves on without her. You know, she doesn't even get the chance to explain her case. She's fired by video message, and she's trying to complain to to her father on the other end, and notice recordings. You literally can't speak to him. It's all decisions made, and it's final. And she has to make her own way. You know, everything from basically living homeless on the streets for a while to becoming a waitress to pay her own bills, which did give her in a very nice outfit with a little bow bun hairstyle. That was quite cute. But she tried to take it all, approaching it as a Katal. So the second that she sees Jean Starwind again, that's it. It's revenge time. I am a proud Katal, and I'm going to beat you because you took everything from me.
Also, she kind of sees it as her way back in.
And despite this, there doesn't ever seem to be any genuine malice. This is the one thing they did really well, is that even though she's out to fight Jean Starwind at the start, and she's out to fight big strong people at the end of the series as well, there isn't any... It's almost a Goku-like kind of attitude. She just wants to fight because that's what she does.
It's like a cat playing with a mouse. It's not mean. It's just what it does.
Yes, it's not even a cat playing with a mouse. It's imagine if a cat constantly wanted to fight a martial artist. Okay, because so she doesn't think she can lose because she's a Katal. But at the same time, even if she does, she's going to come back for round 2. And the whole point of this character is that she is big, strong, and bullheaded. Not necessarily stupid. She does have a bit of guile to her. She does have her own plans. When there's a big hit that's going to be proposed by one of the contacts of Jean's to get money, they want him to take down a female wrestler. And the only way to do that, it turns out, is because Twilight Suzuka won't go into that fight because it's beneath her. And Katal are actually banned from the competition.
Because of their
so the only way to go in is to cross-dress as a woman. Jenny Starwind was born, and it's beautiful.
But a very Joseph Joestar moment.
Yes, but at the same time, Aisha's just gone and gotten round it. She's basically ambushed another person that already registered, took her costume, and is pretending to be another fighter called Firecat. And you think, okay, that's completely different. She's gone and acted independently of the crew, come up with her own plan, as insane as it is, and then enacted it to go, further the goals of her team. So she's not stupid, but she is really headstrong and brash. You can tell her that she can't join a competition to fight. She's going to go and fight. Bless you.
Not stupid. She's just simple.
Yes, that's it. She's straightforward. She's simple. So she knows that if she can't get into that competition as Katal, she'll get into it as somebody else. If she's going to take on somebody who's physically stronger than her, even as a Katal, then she's going to fight differently. Or if she's going to take on somebody that is sneakier than her, then she's going to find a way to trap them and catch them out. It's a great example of no thought, only fight, eat, and have a nap.
Yeah.
But she does care for her crew eventually. Once she's joined the crew, the bond is there permanently. It's a very heartwarming thing to see her actually survive things that the crew asks her to go in for, even when it's looking very, very dire. And even Jean, who still doesn't quite get along with her at any point because of how loud and brash she is strangely charmed by the fact that she has made her home aboard his ship. Yeah. Even he sees the good points about her. And as, a real surprise from a character like this, any other show would have put her as the muscle purely. And no, they actually gave her a full story arc and a full developmental thing with making friends and joining the crew and finding a new home. So, yay to our tanned whitehead waifus. Anything to say, gentlemen?
Nope, not really.
Okay, so quicker one for that one then.
As Xeno slowly dies.
Yeah, sorry, the hay fever just suddenly violently kicked in.
It's almost like having your window open, let all the pollen in.
True, but it's still...
Yeah.
Oh, we're at 26.5. It's going down slowly. Right, so next one I want to do is actually Lucy from Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
Okay.
This is quite the complex character, where Lucy obviously has her own motivation, but she doesn't really share anything with some people. And it's not until she has this sudden incident with David where, they have to kind of escape a ambulance to rescue, that moment really kind of exposes Lucy to a person that she could have a deep, meaningful relationship with. Right, this person is shown as vulnerable. This person is just human. She sees this very weak side of David, which I think really lends her to open up to David. Right, the whole thing about going to the moon thing. I know it's a very stereotypical trigger trope.
Weak, but also talented and smart. Right, he's got raw talent, and she can see it in him.
Oh yeah, but the whole point was there was this,
naivety.
He was just exposed. That was the big thing. Like, he was helpless. Right? She had to get him to eventually his own Ripperdoc so that he could get some meds. Right? But there was that experience, that exposure, that and he was embarrassed to the fact that this had happened.
But then, it's all of that combined. I think that really, anyway, sorry.
But as time goes on, she soon learns more and more about David, like the sort of character he is. They start becoming closer with the whole Edgerunners crew and everything. And ultimately, she finds out something, that really puts David in danger, right? But she's not prepared to tell David what that is, because she knows the sort of person he is. She's understood that if she tells him, he will chase it. He will run towards the danger, and she knows he can't take it. He wouldn't be able to actually deal with it. So she actually ultimately becomes a recluse. She shuts herself off from everything apart from David, because she is trying to do her damnedest to protect him. And I think that is a really well-defined psyche of a character that shows that, she's prepared to sacrifice everything to save the one she loves.
Even her dreams. But then there is that absolute difference, I'm sure you're going to mention, with the fact that when David's dream is to help her fulfill her dreams.
No, I mean, I was...
Conflict also gives rise to even more attachment. The difference in goal there makes it fantastic as a relationship.
But it's more the hypocrisy behind it as well, right? It's the fact that she will, she wants David to, or she wants anyone to rely on her to help them, but she won't do it the other way around. She needs to fight this battle by herself. Like, if she employed the help of maybe Kiwi, or no, not Kiwi, that's the
Kiwi
VTubers. Kiwi, sorry, yes. Kiwi or any other Netrunners, maybe she could have been able to pull it off a lot better, right? But her doing this basically makes herself a point of weakness for David, right?
Yes.
And it's brilliant. It's a really, really well told narrative, and she is properly fleshed out. I could easily believe her to be an actual real life character that would do stupid shit like this. I've known people in real life to not rely on others and like, no, I could do this by myself. I mean, fuck, I've done that plenty of times, right? So, this is why I really, really like her. I think she's really
go into why she feels that kind of hypocrisy, because of course she survived the experiments on her, where everybody else didn't. So she's not only alone, she's also uniquely set up to be more than what the others think she is. And there's a little bit of tragic main character syndrome going on there. That's why she thinks that she should do it alone, because she's the only survivor and could get into more trouble.
She's the only one who. She thinks she's the only one who can.
Yeah, I think it's she thinks that she's the only one that can, because she doesn't, like, if anyone else tried to do what she is pulling off, they may end up dying themselves, right?
Yes.
So she's not prepared to risk them for.
She'll be that sacrificial lamb in order to protect everyone else.
Yeah. I really get that hypocrisy, because of course the sacrifice there is seen as almost a betrayal by others, because they want her to survive as much as she wants them to survive.
Exactly, yeah.
And David's the only one that's prepared to let her do anything, because he just has full, complete trust in her. Yeah. So
I mean, you can even see why other people find, or other people identify more with Thingy, the other girl,
Rebecca.
Lucy? Or Rebecca? Sorry, yeah.
Rebecca. Yeah. So just went out of my head for a second. Everybody seems to identify more with Rebecca, because she starts out as an ordinary person and gets more and more caught up with what Xavier's doing, and is the relationship that could have been.
Yeah.
And also specifically recognizes the relationship that is. And you can see the development of her through all the way up to the end, where she begins to let go of what she expected, what she was hoping for, and shows an unselfish form of love in that respect, where she's willing to let go, she's willing to step back, while still doing her all for the person she loves.
Yeah.
And that contrast in characters actually just makes that show as well, in that story sense.
Yeah.
So Lucy has that hypocritical thing of sacrificing herself when others don't want to see her dead. Other people around her are going to still do things for her. And that's... I still love this just as much as you do. It's a great character. Good choice for this, because there's a whole mess of different motivations going on in here.
Nasuth, your next one?
Oh, jeez. I think I have Attack on Titan in here for Eren Yeager, but we could really spend an entire episode. Even though we already have talked about Attack on Titan for an entire episode, we could probably spend another episode just talking about Eren's personality or psychological profile. So I think instead I'll go for I'm Quitting Heroing. And Leo Demonhart. which is the titular hero who is quitting. So the show kind of had a less than stellar ending, in my opinion. But Leo's psychology is honestly one of the more interesting parts, because it's revealed that he's been doing this for a long time, and it plays into that whole idea of, would you really want to be immortal? Because eventually you'd get bored. You would try. He starts seeing himself sort of becoming the villain, because, or the potential that he has the potential. He sees that he has the potential in himself to become the villain, just to try and find some entertainment, just to try and fulfill his duty of stopping evil. I would create a monster so that I could stop it, sort of thing. And that psychology is something that you don't often see played out in anime, in a lot of stories, really. Sorry, Thaylien,
it's an important note of how powerful he actually is.
Yes.
Because there isn't anyone that could actually stop him. That's why he's worried about himself becoming the villain, and why he's standing back, because that kind of power isn't understood by regular people.
Yeah.
And that kind of power could lead him to become resentful of the people around him. And so...
Well, but it's not only that, but he has this primal drive as part of his very being, beyond his control, that he has to fight evil. And when there's no evil, he doesn't know who he is. So that's what leads to the whole, I would create the evil. I would be the villain making the monster so that I could then fulfill my duty of fighting the monster. It's that level of he doesn't want to be that, but at the same time he's got this inner voice that's telling him he has to be that. And that level of psychological trauma and torment is also, it's just wow.
So I didn't finish the show, but I dropped it because of much of the same reasons that it started to go downhill for anyway. But the thing that surprised me is that he's also because his priority is to defend humanity as well. He's got to be the hero, he's got to be good and fight evil. But what if the people he's got to defend are becoming evil over time? So there is a conflict there, that he could also be driven to create an external evil so that internal evil doesn't develop.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, because in the times of struggle, humanity's greater nature comes out. Blah 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 blah. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
and their self-sacrifice, their kindness to each other, is born from having something to actually combat.
And so his whole motivation in the show stems from that deeper need to stop himself from becoming that. And so he's the reason he's looking for a group of people that are really strong and really good, like actually good people, is to stop him in his tracks. That's all he wants now, and it's incredible to watch unfold. I wish that more characters had that kind of even though the show ended up kind of unsatisfactory. I feel like his story, his arc, was probably the best part of it, and I would like to see it in something else. Yeah.
I don't know, because I feel that his self-sacrifice is sort of on par with Lucy, right? In Cyberpunk.
Because he's unwilling to seek help.
He's taking on the responsibility. Yeah. He's unwilling to seek help and things. He's taking on the responsibility of doing everything himself. He is taking responsibility to be the sacrificial lamb, things like this.
But part of that's beyond his control. It's because of the way he was made.
Yeah, the important comparison there between him and Lucy is he wrong about it? That's the thing. Lucy's wrong because she's trying to isolate herself from people that will help her and want to love her, and would end up better if she let them help her. But with our boy,
he actually wasn't the best, and he's the only one left now.
He's the only one left, and he is at some point going to fall prey to this logical fallacy in his programming. Well, not his mental programming.
Yeah,
and it's going to happen. It is inevitable because of his immortality. So, is he wrong to kind of set it up so that he does become the sacrificial lamb?
I don't know. I kind of feel that.
I mean, the show says he is, because that's. To
me, it feels a bit contrived for convenience sake that, like, oh, well, because you're immortal, you're going to become the villain. And I was like, why?
You might, though.
Why?
I mean, you really might, though, because if you get bored enough, or also, in his case, if you're programmed to have this drive that is left unfulfilled, you might.
Yes,
you might.
It's a flaw in his indoctrination.
Yeah.
It's a flawed indoctrination, so that in the situation where peace has reigned long enough that the people he has to protect become evil, his thing to fight evil might override his thing to protect them. Or vice versa, that he is his
there's also a thing about them
become the hero leads him to create a villain because there isn't one. That flawed programming is what's the driving force of it. So whether the show itself was good, the concept and driving force behind the character isn't actually a.
It's also similar to Lucy. I mean, it's similar to Lucy, but it's not the same as Lucy.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, like, I think the problem with the series is that it doesn't do a good enough job to explain that his perception on his directive is changing. So as a car,
yeah, they really could spend a little more time on that stuff. I agree.
Stupid hay fever. Yeah, so like they could elaborate on more, because it kind of just feels a bit rushed at the end. Mm-hmm. Like he spends all his time sort of like building up this civilization, trying to find a way to bridge the gap between the two societies and everything, but it doesn't kind of really elaborate as to why. Like if he was to
not until like the very last few episodes, yeah.
Well, even then, it's really the only last 2 episodes when they actually have that cliffhanger with the fight and everything. But if they were to have it so that he kind of does things a bit wrong, so it's just like, oh yeah, just put this nuclear waste in this town over here. It's like, no, because then the humans would suffer. Oh yeah, that's a good point. You know, it's kind of show that he is disassociating humanity with protecting them. Like, I feel that would lean more towards it, but it kind of just feels stereotypical. It's like, and now I must die. Why?
Well, you see, 10,000 years ago in the future.
Because I'm a depressed millennial, I must die.
Yeah, pretty much. Should we move on?
Yeah. Probably our last one.
Maybe.
Maybe.
So, the last one I'm going to be talking about, at least, is Tohru Honda from Fruits Basket. And this, to me, is a fascinating little character. Okay? Because on the surface, she's almost an ideal little character from the Japanese culture. She is quiet and sensible and giving. She's homely and conscious of others. But
kind of looks like a Ghibli character here.
It's because of the because of the tragedy that is her life, has forced her into this role almost. So we start to see how society's expectations can build up on a person and force them into a role that they shouldn't have to experience. So the story of Tohru is she's the only child born to a lovely outgoing woman called Kyoko and her father Katsuya, the Honda family. And the three are very, very happy in life, go out on family outings, visit her grandfather, but because of Kyoko's past as basically a biker gang member, the rest of her family didn't approve of the marriage, and kind of it just grey rocked the existence of Tohru's family. And unfortunately, her father Katsuya died of pneumonia while he was away on a business trip, so she didn't even get to say a proper goodbye to him. And during his funeral, Katsuya's relatives actually accused her of being the child of an affair because she didn't resemble him enough. Okay, it's the expectation of the family was so this close-mindedness of the family to say that no, we did not want this person, so we're going to find any excuse to make her an other. Just pushed her right down into this kind of depressed kind of state. And even Kyoko fell into depression because of the rejection she was getting from the family. But as a result, Tohru found that if she put on a smile for her mother and did the things that Dad would do, basically become a mini Katsuya for her mother, the perfect child, her mother would become more happy. And the only other person that would actually take her in at all was her grandfather. But Kyoko basically was just about to off herself. It's just at the point where Tohru started acting like Katsuya again, and finally kind of became the more loving mother that she'd expect. And, you know, they lived together, she raised Tohru as best she could. But the only, but of course, Kyoko then died. Kyoko did, in fact, unfortunately die and leave her with only memories. But the attitude remained. The attitude of acting like her father did, the loving and caring person, and keeping her own feelings inside, and always presenting that happy face, stuck with her, because it was her formative memories that this was what people wanted from her. So when her grandfather had to remodel his house, Tohru just went with it. She said she'd be fine. She didn't need to be taken in by the rest of her family that hated her existence. She went and lived in a tent and used the public baths and facilities of the town to clean up every day. And it's only because she basically didn't want to trouble people that she went and just lived in a tent as a school kid to try and not bother people that she thought she was impeding with her life. And that's a tragedy. And it's only when she met the members of the Soma family that she did, who all have their own problems. We're not going to go into those. That's a bag of hairy worms in terms of fucking mysteries. Okay, you don't want to get into that unless you're going to watch the whole series. But she really needed this interaction with other people to show her that she could become more than the smiling face. her two best friends are the people that see that face she puts on and see beneath it to the person she is. And they are loyal to a fault. They are absolutely ride or die. We must protect this person until they become what we see inside. You know, they're the ones that are actually aware of the pain that Tohru's feeling, the distress that she's gone through, the story of her life. And they're absolutely gutted to find out that Tohru went and lived in a tent and didn't tell them about it. You know, because they would have taken her in, but on the one side, they live in a small family house, and on the other, they've got lots of siblings, and so the house is really crowded anyway. So she thought it would be too much trouble for them. So just being the good girl again made her omit the truth to her friends, and that's I can't even begin to imagine what mindset you have to be in to think that putting yourself into that situation was beneficial for anybody, let alone the people that you were going to inconvenience. So I loved watching the show because it actually brought, through experiencing the other Soma's problems, it brought her out of that mask she'd created, the mask she wore for the world. And that's something that I think everyone can relate to. Not her own sad life, but the mask, the putting up a front for everybody else to see and keeping your thoughts inside and not being the same person inside as you show to the world. Everyone can relate to that. That's a motivation that everyone can feel. What do you think?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely understand the whole public face, private face thing. Yeah.
And Xeno's very, very quiet.
Yeah, so, Xeno's even thought. I mean, like, I've heard a lot of what you've said and things.
I've never watched Fruits Basket, either of them, so I couldn't
I mean,
really comment.
That in part is the problem. I've watched the original one, like, I don't know how many years ago now. I can't really remember it. I do get the whole, like, not wanting to
watch-a-thon for the new one, because it's so very, very good.
Isn't it like 4 seasons long?
Yes, and you asked me
full
to tell
2 core seasons. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I feel that it's certainly interesting. I can't conceive of a world, and there probably is, like, this does happen, but I just can't envision it where, you know, you turn up to your relatives, your siblings, your grandparents, you say this is your grandchild, this is your niece/nephew, and they're like, you know, it doesn't look like you at all. It's clearly someone else's kid. Oh,
it happens more often than you think.
Really?
Yeah.
So, okay, there's 2 points of experience I bring to this.
Okay.
The first is that I spent about 5 years as an agony uncle. Not like an agony aunt, but, you know, people wrote to me to as a friendly ear to listen to, an anonymous email address online that you could just contact, speak your mind to, and have somebody show you that they heard you and that they empathized. And the stories I heard through that were utterly numbing in some cases. Some of them were joyful. I can talk about some of them. They've given me full permission to talk about their stories. This is a good 14 years ago now that I was doing this. So one of them was, just for example, a woman that contacted me asking that she was very, very Christian and was worried that her son was having a secret girlfriend that he was having relationships with out of wedlock. Now, that's a bias that I don't relate too much, but it's, you know, the thing is, I asked her what evidence she had of this, and she found that he's hiding her magazines from her parents for her. Hiding her magazines. Yes, there's a whole thing of magazines with pictures of naked men in them.
Oh my!
Under her son's bed that she found.
Oh my!
And so the only thing I could do, because I could not word this in any way to tell her what to do, was simply to say, be open and listen. Okay?
Yeah.
Your son is afraid to talk to you about things right now. So you need to make sure that you give them an ear that can listen, and listen without judgment.
Yeah.
Because you may be surprised at what he actually tells you. I don't believe that it's what you think. The evidence doesn't point to that, but there are so many things it could point to that I can't give you an answer.
Yeah.
She came back to me 3 months later and thanked me for the advice to listen.
Yeah.
Because her son came out to her after 3 months of trying and talking.
Yeah.
And she couldn't be prouder of him. She was a very accepting mum after that. And it was because she gave me permission to pass the story on to others because of that. And but the other ones, the stories of
for every one of those,
stories of
dozens.
And nowadays is the reading for the relationship advice and Am I the Arsehole, all these other Reddit things of people that are looking for advice because they are in a situation where they are being hurt.
Now, of course, some of those are going to some of those are going to be fake, but not as many as you think.
Very biased from the other side.
Yes, that's true.
They may actually be the instigator, not the victim.
Yeah.
And so, yes, they are the arsehole in those cases. But there are so many. If even half of them are true,
exactly, yeah.
The absolute volume is so soul crushing on this one. But that's why this being a representation, being multiple representations of rejection, inclusion, found family, and being able to take off your mask to people, it's a very, very powerful show in that respect.
It's interesting because, like, we were talking about the whole, like, being able to relate to things, and I can't relate to this in any capacity, right? Like, I don't even have friends that have had to go through this, and it's really interesting to hear, like, your guy, we were talking, like, do we have to be able to relate to characters early on when we were talking, like, about Bocchi the Rock? And I think listening to what you guys have said, like, this has actually made me change my mind, and even hearing my own words back to me, kind of, I've changed my mind on this. And I completely agree with you.
Relating isn't as important as empathizing.
Yeah.
But here's the problem.
Show,
for me,
and a good show will make you empathize with a character, even if it's the villain.
But here's another side to it. It's not just about empathizing. It's also about believing, right? Believing the situation is possible. Believing whether or not you would have a TV inside a packet of crisps and then just crush it in and throw it.
Yes.
But no. But that is the point, though, right? Not only do we have the belief of, whether or not this stuff is even physically possible, the belief of, like, the logic that is derived from it, So
well, I mean,
it's that.
I can relate to this sort of thing, but I'm still not interested in watching Fruits Basket. So
of course,
that just may, it's very relating and empathizing stuff and enjoying. It's all very complex and subjective anyway.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, at the same time, we've had problems with, Western shows where it's just like, I just can't believe anyone would do this sort of shit.
So
I just can't, like, why the...
well, that's a matter of suspension of disbelief, I think, and how far you are on that line.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Anyway. For example, the idea of the healthcare system being so bad that you would have to go and start cooking meth to be able to fund your own treatment.
Yeah. Well, that's just true. That's just true.
That's a suspension of disbelief. Certain suspension of disbelief needed, but also
I thought
like many dystopian things.
He wanted to leave something behind for his family.
Like many dystopian things, it's the
he wasn't going to get treatment.
It's just believable enough that it could happen.
Just showing something doesn't necessarily mean it's believable. You know.
Don't believe everything you see on TV, kids.
Right.
Yeah. If Walter White had been in England, it would have been, you have cancer. We've got full coverage because you're under the NHS. Thank you.
Well, no. See, the thing was that he wasn't going to get treatment because he thought it was like inoperable or something. He thought it was massive.
But he would have got coverage or treatment or at least end of life care.
Well,
where in Canada.
But he wanted to leave. Anyway, welcome to the Nerd Crew.
Right. I would like to cover one more.
Okay.
At least.
Okay. Yes.
Right.
Let's finish this up on a high note, Xeno.
So you say.
So the one, I think. God, I'm so torn between the two. The one I'm going to actually talk about is actually Naofumi from Rising of the Shield Hero. Now, we can talk about the huge implications because it's really on at the start of the series, and the other one I wanted to talk about, we'd have to have spoiler tags left, right, and center.
I think we've kind of mostly given up on spoilers in this episode.
No, I mean, we are.
In this episode, because we're talking about the character growth, there's a lot of plot points we don't cover as things. So,
But the big thing with Naofumi, I really want to highlight. Yes, it's possible, right? But also how the likes of the internet reacted to it. The whole thing we're talking about is at the very start of the series where what's called Naofumi is falsely accused of doing stuff at the vineyard.
An assault.
Yes.
Assaulting vines.
Yes. Purely because he is the hated shield hero.
That's besides the point, right? He is.
But that's the motivation for that accusation in the first place.
He is the victim of the situation, and no one will give him the time of day to hear his side of the story, let alone believe it. Just flat out hear it. And it's all lies, it's all slander, it's all scandalous.
They're so prejudiced against what he is, they don't care who he is.
Yes. Oh no, that's besides the point, because there are three characters that could quite easily hear him out, but they choose not to, right? But regardless of that, he is then put through the ringer and ends up employing a Raphtalia, and he basically really brings it to home. Look, I will be your shield, but you need to be my sword, right? The trauma that she experiences alongside him to basically form a bridge that they can actually care anymore. The big part of this is the fact that when he took her to a restaurant and, or an inn or a tavern or whatever, and they were like, we don't serve their kind here. He's like, you fucking will serve her, right?
Yes.
The end, right?
Yeah.
This is something very key. Before he brings on Raphtalia, the desperation he shows is incredibly telling. Yeah. Because just to get food, he actually has to bring monsters in under his cloak to threaten shopkeepers to deal with him.
Yeah.
So, because he is the shield hero, he's got enough defense that these monsters chewing on his ribs don't hurt him, but they will certainly hurt the other people if he unleashes them.
But but there's more. He, so he buys her, I think it's a meal from the kids set or something like this, so he buys her food, and he is also eating. Now, do either of you remember what he says from the food?
It doesn't.
Really
he can't
important.
even. It doesn't even taste like anything to him. He doesn't eat food because he only eats to live, not because of the taste.
Yes.
But until Raphtalia, until later,
right? Until Raphtalia makes him something to eat later on, he can't taste it.
Yeah.
Not only that, right? Later on, he is put through the ringer again when they find out that
they want to take her away from him because
exactly, right?
Because even though he purchased her, he never treated her but he never treated her like a full-time employee. He always treated her like a person. And they don't want to hear that. They don't want to believe that because of who he is.
Yes, again, what he is, not who he is.
Yeah.
But after she was forcibly fired, right, from his employment, he was starting to shut down.
Yeah,
he was starting to go
really
to
fast,
the dark side of the Shield hero, right? But when she fought back, when she, hugged him and everything, he finally saw her. This is the freaking point. Like she hugged him, and he finally saw her for who she was then, because at that point in time he owned this is the scene, this is the fucking scene, right?
Yep.
He'd only ever seen her as a 10-year-old kid.
Yes.
Right?
And as his sword in that sense.
Yes. But but the whole point was
as a person,
never
but still
saw her
as a child. Yeah.
So his mind had shut down so hard because of the trauma that he had gone through while being in this other world, the place that he never wanted to be, right? He was never asked to come here. He was forcibly brought here against his will. Treated like
worse than an animal.
Yeah, well, I mean, a criminal. He wasn't exiled, but because he was still
completely rejected by everyone that knew him.
Shunned.
And even anyone that didn't know him, because he had effectively the shield on his arm was a brand, right?
Yeah.
No one could not know who he was, right? It was impossible to hide it. So he couldn't ever take it off. He could move it anywhere on his body. He could potentially hide it on his back and things. Everyone knew who the fuck he was. Everyone knew he was the shield hero. And it was impossible to hide that. And I love his character growth. Even from later on in the franchise. And he's like, I'm taking no shit from no one. Right?
Yeah. It's the fact they took an ordinary person, broke them down to the absolute base level of interaction with people.
Yeah.
And built him back up again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that he would, later on in the series, he'd go to the aftermath of any of the other heroes' exploits to find just destruction, right? They didn't
abandonment.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like it's just the whole thing. Like they just fucked it up. They destroyed fucking everything. Didn't think anything through. And then when they were told this, their arrogance was just like, you guys are just lost causes, right? So
killing a dragon but not cleaning it up, leading to it becoming an undead.
Oh, basically,
causing even worse trouble.
Yeah,
miasma
the plant that just completely went doolally and overtook the entire town. The rebellion that was incited and no one was able to take leadership. It's like, this isn't, and it was brilliant to see, like, these other people were treating it like a video game where nothing they did could have massive recompense, and he was the only one that saw it like, you are.
It's not their world. It's not a real thing to them. It's enemies they kill are stats to gain, and in different worlds. Whereas he is coming there from just having opened a book and sees it as a world, from the ground up.
Yeah. Well, especially since he's had to literally climb his way back out of the mud. Like, he's seen, he knows these are people.
Just how real it is.
Yeah. He also has, but he's also, I like that he's gotten to the point where I in some ways I can identify with him, because he has a baseline. People start at a baseline level with him. And that baseline level is neither really positive or negative. It's just there. And then from that point on, their actions determine whether he treats them well or as enemies. And I totally understand that mentality.
There's something they haven't really gone into too much, but does crop up, is that there is a nation in that world that loves the shield hero.
That's true. Yeah.
And they do everything in their power to stop him from going there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they did everything in their power to stop him from going there. But the idea that if he'd been summoned there, he might even have been like the others. He might have treated it like a video game.
It's possible.
But,
I think one of the big things...
On the other hand, he could be... Sorry, I'm interrupting it, but on the other hand, he could have been just as nice there as he is in the real world.
I think that was the big driving factor, though. It's like, I don't know if you remember, but the other three are talking like, oh, it's just like X game. Oh, it's just like Y game. Like, they all have augmented reality video games in their worlds. Whereas, he comes from a world, they don't have that. So he is treating it like a world. Really wish the police sirens would stop.
So
even though he's got like UI elements and stuff too.
They come from 4 different worlds. In his world, it's a book. In one of them, it's a desktop.
Even though he's not the book hero.
That's wrong.
On another,
that's wrong.
On another, it's all
so wrong.
No. What? No, that's what he said. It's 3 different types of games. It's not all augmented reality.
That's not how they got in. That's the other 3 died.
The other 3 died. Yes, but what I mean, in their worlds, it's not. They're not all 3 augmented reality games. They're all different forms of media. No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
No, they've specifically said that they're different forms of game.
I remember them all saying.
So one of them used a desktop. One was augmented. One was VR. The other was augmented reality.
We will
check this. Prove that to you. Still, that was the.
We'll double check this and then never get back to you on
it. Yeah, they all know it as a game, whereas he doesn't know it at all. He just opened a book.
But I think he even makes reference to video games when he sees like the UI elements of I can combine these things, and
you actually see him.
Even though he came in with a book, he knows about
playing an MMO.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
they came by dying. He came by book, but they all have experience with video games that relate to this sort of reality. So
right. Nasuth, unless you want to do another one.
No, but I would like to give a special shout out to the cast of Ghost Stories, because they all cray. And not the characters, the cast.
With our improv skills. Right, should we move on to the supporter questions?
I believe we shall.
Let's do that.
Cool. Right, so Zrugel says, before we start the supporter questions, we here at Kanpai Cast would like to thank everyone for listening to our podcast so far. We really appreciate all the likes and comments, so please like and comment. We do read all the comments. Yes. And also,
tell us how bad our
starts having a withdrawal.
Yeah. Tell us how bad our
withdrawal
takes are this week.
Anyway, so Zrugel asks, sometimes I like a good documentary. Can you think of any documentaries in anime form? I don't mean a documentary about anime.
So I said this in Discord. The only one I can think of that I can't think of any actual documentaries, but something like Blue Period that talks about an aspect, like a real aspect of that one's for art school and stuff. It's probably very real to life.
Yeah, I suppose. Cells that work. Sorry, cells at work. I mean, I'm right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I can't think of any myself.
Yeah, I can't think of any actual documentaries. Oh, what was that? What was that one where the guy goes back in time and meets the pop idol group, and he's in like film school? Oh God, it was a few seasons back. You watched it.
Pop idol group.
Yeah, well, they're not necessarily pop idols, but they're like they become. I think if they're internet famous, they're the Silver Stars or something.
I think you're talking about Remake Our Lives, and you're talking about the yeah,
that's the one. That's the other one.
So yeah.
Anyway,
well, I really wouldn't count that one, but anyway, Nasuth Golden Age asks if you could combine any two anime characters in a DBZ style fusion, who would you choose and why?
Griffith and Guts.
Ooh, now this is
because I just need to see it.
Yes. Where's a mullet that's coloured like the skunk hair?
Oh God! Yeah.
It wants 2 streaks of white, 3 streaks of black, but it's a mullet.
Oh.
And a giant curved sword instead of a giant straight sword.
Yes.
Let's see. I would have to fuse somebody really wholesome like Tadano with somebody absolutely downright psychotic like Denji.
Yeah.
Just to see the balance out of a more normal personality with those powers.
I think for Xeno it would be Tohru and Rias Gremory.
Nope. Wrong. It would be
Shofugamachi and Rias Gremory.
I got several. Fuck. Right, I got several. So we've got Raphtalia and Kana, right?
Okay.
Bocchi and Komi, right?
Oh, don't be cruel.
Right? There was going to be Shofugamachi and Issei Hyodo, the ultimate weapon. Who else could I do? I nearly said Lucy and Lucy, but I mean that was
Goku and Saitama.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Oh,
you'd get one Kamehameha. Well, how do you combine somebody who's never depressed with somebody who's always depressed?
Jotaro and Dio. That was the other one I thought.
Oh God. Isn't he already fused with Jonathan though?
They already did that in the show.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh dear.
Doubles the worldo. Star worldo. Platinum worldo.
Oh dear.
Anyway, right, so Thay of the Kingdom. We have a variety of characters to analyze today, but there are some characters we really should never analyze the potential thoughts and feelings of. How thankful are you that nobody has so far brought up Devilman Crybaby in this in the discussion?
Oh man!
I was tempted to. I genuinely was tempted to.
Man.
There was a I was going to talk about any of the characters from School Days. Like that's a whole load of effed up you don't want to talk about. So Devilman Crybaby, that's easy, right? In another twist, how thankful are you that nobody has? Oh wait, something wrong here. Like the rest of the question is just missing. It just stops. I mean, clearly they must have wanted to know about something. Who knows?
Because we can't find the rest of the questions, just to clarify, Motoyasu refers to his world as similar to the online video game Emerald Online. Ren thinks of this as a world where VR MMOs are played with the game title Brave Star Online, so that's a virtual reality one. Whereas Itsuki notice the world similar to the console game known as Dimension Wave.
Right. So is there no such thing as PlayStation VR?
Not in this, apparently.
So they say, like, it's all console, VR stuff.
No, they've got a console, a VR, and a desktop-based MMO.
But you see Naofumi playing a desktop MMO at the start of the series. Yes, it's even in the manga.
But it's not, but the idea is that there is no game like this in his world. That's why the book is there.
Anyway.
Whereas, so the game, so there's nothing for him to relate it to apart from the game interface.
If I could, I'd headbutt.
The other three have directly got three comparisons.
So hard.
Oh, because there's actually have four heroes that are shield, spear, sword, and whatever. Bow.
They never heard of World of
Warcraft.
So Brave Star Online, for example, the VR
Final
one,
Fantasy
actually has
14.
that. No, I'm not saying that.
Right.
So, you're just blowing that right up.
There is no way on earth they don't have MMOs in...
No, he has MMOs.
Specifically those
he doesn't
heroes.
have one that's like this, like the world he's gone to, you nutter.
It specifically has those heroes and waves that attack, and
Anyway.
Let us move on to the comments.
Right. So first from the news, Google says Humble Bundle usually has some great stuff. Glad they have more than just games.
I know they've given away books in the past too, which is it's cool.
I'm not sure if I should be excited, terrified, or blown away by the Transformers themed space exploration project.
It's just a toy that they're sending with it, I think. So excited.
No. They had the transforming rover. The toy was for consumers.
Oh.
Like everyone, Nasuth. No more news with names. No names, only news. Google gets it.
No names.
Right.
News. No
Edward
names.
Paddock says. Edward Paddock says, you simply cannot monitor an open communication forum, the most rudimentary use of alternate terms, or the simple deceit of being just some RP or even a discussion of plots or potential stories makes it insurmountable task. I noticed that the lawsuit neglected to include the internet service providers, the computer manufacturers, the electricity generators, and the publishers of the Oxford English Dictionary. I mean, not to be hyperbolic, but the ISPs in the UK, they would be called up for that because they do monitor our traffic and everything.
Technically, they monitor ours too, to some degree.
I don't know what
but I don't think they can be charged in a lawsuit for it. They can. They're a provider, but they can be brought in as evidence for.
Their records can be subpoenaed. Their records can be subpoenaed. I think, as far as it goes.
No. But if they don't announce like, hey, there's a potential problem here, right? That's exactly the same thing as what's happened with 4chan or Good Smile Company. Hey, you didn't notify any law enforcement official of this. Yeah. So same argument can be made.
Okay.
Yeah.
And considering the ISPs have to do it by law, Anyway, now for last week's comments from the cast. So Strong Michelle says, I feel like looking through things that are popular can be a good place to start. It's not an...
it's got to be popular for a reason.
Yeah. Maybe not a good reason, but at least it's a reason. Just like the old World of Warcraft ad, 4 million people can't all be wrong. Well, they can, but, not all the time. So... Like...
He's not wrong.
Out of interest, I'm just going to check with you guys. How often does the moon go around the Earth?
It's once per month, isn't it? No.
Yeah, it's a full month cycle.
No. It's that's how often it rotates.
No, the moon rotates, so the face is actually constantly facing the Earth. The 1 month, the 28 days.
Yes, it is 1 month. It is a 1 month orbit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 28 days, right?
But also a 1 month rotation.
The sheer volume of people.
It's tightly locked.
The sheer number of people that say once a day is insane.
Yeah.
It's a huge misconception.
Yeah, it moves really slow.
Millions of people
really
can
fast.
be wrong.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, popular things can be bad and still be popular. Look at fucking Death Note. Look at fucking Devilman Crybaby.
Look at Sword Art Online.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least the greater internet has turned around and said, like, Sword Art Online's trash. I'm like, yes, thank you. Thank you, Mashoka Tensei, for showing us the light. Right, okay, and then Zruel says, I don't think Pokemon tried to force popularity. I think they just capitalized on it. In the 90s and early 2000s, they could almost slap the name Pokemon on something and it would sell. I can't think of any examples, but I'd say modern isekais try to force popularity by only doing what other shows have done. And I think Thaylien had the right idea when he said in the beginning that popular shows don't offer much and should be avoided. I agree with that. I'm pretty sure I said that Pokemon transcended popularity because it's just like, it's just culturally everywhere.
Part of culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea that
isekai thing is totally true.
Because popular stuff now doesn't have to compete with popular TV; it has to compete with the current crop of anime.
Yeah. I think, like, again, it's part of the reason why mecha anime were so prevalent before, is like they were popular at the time, and then now they're not as popular. But isekais, like, there was the period before isekais was really school-based anime, right? The sheer volume of school.
God.
Oh my god! Hey, look, it's another one set in a school. I'm so glad that that's died down a lot. But at least with the fantasy stuff, the world is at least slightly different. But anyway, right, and now it's time to move on to the memes. So you can find more memes at twitter.com/Kanpai Cast, or even the Discord server, where you can find a link to the Discord server in the description below. Cool.
All right.
Do this.
So my first meme. The last fertile young man in the village got a curse on his arm that will slowly kill him. Red button, let him bang all the women in the fertile age so the village doesn't die out, or send him away. This here, sends him away.
Silliness.
Taylor Swift breaks up with her latest boyfriend. Fans of Taylor Swift, knowing that this means a new song is on the way.
Yep.
Oh, Nichijou. Formerly depressed MC finally finding love and having a good life. The author about to kill their love interest and family.
I nearly picked this one.
Every time.
Picked this one. Yep.
I have an MP7.
So Japanese isekai protagonists, I have a magical OP ability. American isekai protagonists, I have an MP7.
Oh.
Guns, man.
I think Carbon posted this to the Discord as well.
Oh fuck! We do have a duplicate.
No,
I did pick this.
It had a different URL.
But do you get this though?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Spider-Man, isn't it?
Spider-Man giving up on being Spider-Man in that particular movie. So,
No, that's the problem. It's not. It's so. This is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh.
No, this is Across the Spider-Verse, right?
Oh.
So, you can't interfere with a canon event, right? So the truck is supposed to hit the kids, because what actually happens in Spider-Man 2 is he rescues those kids.
Right.
The idea is now you can't interfere with... So,
because he's supposed to rescue the kids. Right, okay.
Yes.
Right.
Nice.
Okay. And lastly, the most epic fighting poses in anime.
One of these things is not like the other.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, this one, the top left is really boring, honestly. So
yeah,
it really is. The only one wearing face paint as well. I mean, come on.
Okay, so apparently Thaylien's are raw videos. So,
okay, that one didn't
or not
play properly. Let's try that again. No.
And that was briefly the.
Right.
That was briefly
Try
last
again.
week's.
Thaylien broke it entirely.
I must have done.
One more time.
Oh, good old thing.
Aha!
The fans have spoken.
Oh. Yep, number
Okay.
2.
All right. An oldie but a goodie. An oldie but a goodie.
そうだ。ジュンは今日ただ楽しみに来てんだ。なのに私はこのままじゃ絶対ダメだ。なんとかしねえと今日が台無しになっちまう。
Ah! Imagine if they'd used the AI voice thing to make her sing. Oh.
Oh my god.
What the?
Just gonna point out, this episode is no longer viewable on YouTube for some reason.
Hey Jolie, wanna see me summon a demon? I fucked it up.
What the fuck even?
Thaylien, are you okay? Do you need help?
He is. Next.
Oh god, I'm afraid. Okay. Oh no.
Defiance in the eyes.
何の話を
Come here. Kneel. Put your right hand in the box. Your mother bade you obey me. The test is simple. Remove your hand from the box, and you die.
Okay, all right, you brought it back. You brought it back,
I
Thaylien.
can't remember. Is that? That's not the original June, is it? That's the most
No,
recent
that's
one.
the new one. Yeah. Oh my god.
Holy shit.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Are we buying memes now, or are we still his?
It's your memes
I
now.
think that's my last.
It's your memes now.
Right. Okay, Americans at 21 getting to drink. Europeans at 21 giving up alcohol. Yeah.
It's been hard on me the last few years.
Right. So then we have, serving a godless world and reincarnated as a sword.
Oh no.
And yeah, it was
yeah.
And then we have fucking cheat skill. I'm like, Season reviews coming soon. Anticipate. Right. Next, Demon. I was born at a very young age.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
What are we on now? Is that
four is your next one? Yeah.
Go 4. Right. Wake up. Come on, step out of it. Please. If you can hear my voice. It's no use. He's in a deep coma. Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 is about to drop.
Real shit.
Yeah. Number 5. I think we might be able to skip. Yeah, we can skip this. Go straight to 6.
Oh my god, what the fuck, Xeno? Alright.
It works. Fucking works.
Oh.
Right. So that is it for this week's episode. Next week we have the anime and cultural exchange. God knows what the fuck we're going to be talking about that one. So thank you very much for watching / listening. And now it's time to bottoms up. I've already ran out of drink. And Kanpai!
Kanpai!